Aduro this morning had a press release. Aduro Technologies and Prospera Energy advanced collaboration on pilot plant project for partial upgrading of bitumen. So I figured it would be a good idea to have Ofer kind of tell us what it means, because I think it will help us understand the situation. So Ofer, can you help us? Thank you for joining me, and can you help us understand what this press release means?
Mariusz, you're coming already Ofer and no Ofer, the CEO of Aduro. So I mean, we're familiar now. We have this. So I'm happy we have that. That maybe that your audience is know me. Thank you very much for having me, and good morning. So what does it mean to Aduro? I think we talked in the last few months about us completing the building blocks and materializing on the building blocks. So moving forward from the stage where we are commissioning the unit to the stage we are testing it. For us, this is the beginning of what we told investors. We know that it took us some time to commission the units. The units now are in the stage of being tested and commissioned and completing everything that is related to the operation. And so with that, it was appropriate, of course, to go back and to work on the commitment that we had with Prospera, basically. So the company, as we mentioned, is ready to do so. And that's what we're doing now. We hope to have more in the future.
You had a press release with Prospera before. It was in September of 2022.
Yeah.
Was there some kind of work or some kind of study done for Prospera to finally pull the trigger and do this?
Yes. So we had the stages that we have in the project consisted of a laboratory work and continuous flow reactor system works. And so we have done some of the work on the laboratory, but at the time we didn't figure this is worthy of a press release. We didn't even charge, and there was no point to move it forward. As you know, Mariusz, we had our difficulties with supply chains and finding I'll say a secondary site for the unit to be commissioned. So we overcome those challenges last year, and we did our work, our commitment for what we needed to do in the laboratory. But now we are starting to plan the experiments on the continuous flow. They are very important for us because they represent the first time that basically we are running the unit as we think it should be before thinking about the commercialization, before thinking about the next reactor design, the next larger unit, to demonstrate and to show Prospera this technology, the performance of it, the potential of it, the ability to imagine how it can move from this place to a larger unit. That is very important, and we thought at this point of time also, of course, the engagement will be one that we will build Prospera. We will accept money and invoice Prospera for that. And so it was worthy, of course, to tell our investors that we are moving forward and doing the project, advancing on the project.
What exactly does it mean, advancing on the project? I see the press release talks about phases.
Yes.
So are we building a commercial unit, or what is it exactly are we doing?
No, this phase, the first phase of it is basically running material on continuous flow. It's as you've seen in the videos, and we will present the unit when they will be commissioned. They are similar to the plastic unit. They're larger in scale, but their capacity is smaller. They're over-engineered unit. Basically, the unit will give us the ability to investigate our parameters and the interplay relationship between pressure, temperature, all of those, water ratio, all of those parameters that are important for us to create the envelope but it also very important to allow Prospera to envision based on the performance of these parameters. Once the operation is optimized a little bit, it doesn't have to be highly optimized, just optimized a little bit, how this could be scaled up into a larger unit, basically into a commercial unit. So this is the first phase, that is, us moving from the lab to a continuous flow unit. Super important for us. As you remember, Mariusz, we also have a commitment to a large organization which is confidential, and so we will in Alberta, which was holding on to the experiments until we'll be able to be in this stage as well. And so this is the time we are working with Prospera to advance this stage, basically.
The press release talks about a few phases, 3 phases of the agreement with Prospera. So the way I understand this is you have R2 for plastic, and it's been finished and commissioned, and you also have R2 for bitumen. So this agreement that you just entered into, are you building a new unit, or are you using the unit that you have right now for testing for Prospera?
We are using the unit that we are now commissioning. So those units that we already paid for, that we took some time to commission because of supply chain, because we had to wait and find alternative site, all of those challenges that happened last year. Now those units are commissioned, and I remind you and the investors that we're talking about 2 units, basically. One of them is the flash drum, and the other one is the continuous flow unit, and they are coming together. The job of the flash drum is really to separate the light bitumen from the heavy bitumen, from which we will put the light bitumen aside, and then we'll take the heavy material, the heavy residue that is left, normally the asphaltene. That is the material that will fed into the R2 bitumen unit. We will apply our technology and our chemistry on the bitumen, on the asphaltene, from which we'll generate data. We'll show Prospera what can be done with it. Prospera will witness not just to the testing, but also will generate data about it. They will be able to envision how a commercial unit will be operated based on those 2 units that are working together, from which we will move later to a discussion, we hope, on phase 2, which is a completely different ballgame. This is the pilot unit. We're talking about 50 barrels per day, yet to be seen. Our job right now until the end of the year is just completing the project, the phase 1 for Prospera.
And there is a dollar amount, and there's a monthly fee of 25,000 Canadian dollars. So they're Prospera is going to be paying you this amount for that phase 1. In other words, they're going to be sending you barrels of oil, and then you're going to take them and run them through your R2 unit and give them your findings.
Yes. So I don't know if I know Prospera has sent it. I'm not sure if it's already landed. So the material is likely to be in our site already. The work on our hand is to complete right now whatever needs to be completed in order to commission both of those units, which will happen in the next few weeks, from which point we will advance the experiment program with Prospera. Prospera are part of this discussion all day. We are talking to them, already from 2022. And so this is an opportunity for us just to share the data and show them what we can do with the bitumen.
Is this your first? This is not your first client engagement on the oil side.
No, actually, Prospera is the second client engagement. We stayed under the radar with the first client engagement. We have a client which is one of the largest bitumen processor in Alberta. We can't state its name; it's confidential.
I assume that confidential party is probably bigger than Prospera.
It's much bigger than Prospera, and it would like to stay quiet, so we won't mention the name. There is a project in place concerning that customer, There is time slots available for the unit in order to complete that project. As soon as we'll generate data for this customer, we'll go back to that customer and we'll see if we can ask permission to disclose the name. Before that, we can't just really talk about this customer anymore.
When you run tests through your bitumen R2, obviously there's space availability. So when you run it for Prospera, do you just run it exclusively for Prospera for some time and then you can switch it to another potential client?
It's funny that you asked that, Mariusz. It's a combined answer, and the reason being is that we're dealing with the same material. So whatever, every time we run material through the unit, we're learning something. So while this is not the material of our second customer, it's still bitumen that needs to be separated from heavy and light. It's still material that has to put under some boundaries of condition, under some elements of catalyst and water ratio and all of that. And so while we're doing it, we're learning and generating data that helps us to envision what needs to be happening for the second customer. Normally, when we run for a customer, and this is what we see on the plastic unit, we allocated maybe several weeks associated with that customers. In the case of the bitumen, at this point of time, I don't see any conflict. Both of them will be more or less on the same time, just because material that has been processed right now for Prospera will be used as just conceptually to understand what will be the setting that we need to do for the other customer, the confidential customer. So there's no pressure or time limitation here. It's more integration, and it's really related to the fact that we need just to commission the unit. We need to complete the safety, the protocols. The operation team needs to be well aware of how to operate them, and then we need to move forward. But the fact is that we are starting to announce and take commitments for the customers, tell the investors that we are completing that phase internally, and we are being ready, preparing ourselves to be ready to do those testing.
When I first saw the press release, I was thinking to myself, even though this particular client is not a major oil company, but having them engaged on a small scale is important learning tool for you, because it's an important learning tool, because if you can do your operation on 50 barrels per day, you could probably do it on 500 barrels per day, because it's just more barrels.
It's for us, it's super. The relationship with the Prospera is super important. It's an opportunity for us to showcase on real life with a real life customer, the economic and the performance of the unit. It's an opportunity because of the size to learn a lot about junior producers, which is different to a larger producers. It gives you a little bit visibility about the scale, about the speed that they're operating, about a limitation in terms of money, about all kind of constraints, operational constraints that are not so visible when you're talking about a larger organization. And vice versa, when we're talking about the larger organization, it's the opposite. We generate data that is not, visible from smaller customers. So working with Prospera, first and foremost, it's a real customer. It's an interested customer who wants to improve its performance, and we tell the world and the investors that we are definitely an opportunity to look at us as one that can help improve performance. And the second, because of the size and everything that Prospera bring on, it's an opportunity for us to learn about customers of this size. So, it's wonderful. It's super important for us.
It's interesting that you're saying that, because I didn't think about it, because now you are working with a smaller customer, but you're also working with the bigger one,
yes,
whose name is, you're not you cannot identify at this point.
Yeah.
But like you're working like on this entire range right now.
Yes, we're building exactly that. We're building our spectrum from small to large, and in between there is the mid-size that we are still missing, and we will look to do that once we'll have generate data. As you remember, we told everyone that we want to work on those two projects first before we'll start market the application, basically, because the heavy oil industry is very conservative. They've learned a lot, and for many years they've seen lots of failures and some successes. And so in this industry, for you to be successful, we believe that we have to hold on to the customers and to show actual data before publishing the material or the application, completely going on full marketing. With completion of the large scale, for the testing for the large scale producer and the testing for Prospera, and I imagine those things will be in discussion closer to November, December, closer to the end of this year. That will give us the go-ahead, basically, to publish this information and market and go after customers that are interested also from the mid-range. And then Prospera, if Prospera is an organization that aims to do anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 barrels per day, there is a section there in the mid-range that is doing anything between 10,000 to 50,000 barrels per day. And then there is the large organization that are doing anywhere between 100, 200,000 barrels to 500,000 barrels. And so we have actually customers on both edges at this point of time, which is super interesting for us.
Well, and then as you learn and as you gather this data and as you publish this data, I assume that, well, you said it will be used as a marketing tool, but it will probably be progressively easier to convince more players that this technology works because it's already been proven with these two.
Yes, I mean, this is crunch time for us, Mariusz. We've been ready and working for this moment for the last 3 years. Certainly, we had our challenges to build those units, to commission them, to bring them into this to this day, to today. From this point, really, there are two goals that will, moving forward. This is our eyes will be basically set up on two goals. One of them, of course, is just like in the plastic unit, designing and thinking about the larger process, the next phase project. And that could be with Prospera on the phase 2, if we will be successful, or with someone else. And the second one is really to market ourselves with actual data towards customers that we feel are in need in the heavy oil market. So absolutely, very important for us.
Okay, great. I think I have a pretty good understanding now of what this means. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we finish?
Just a small comment, which I tend to say to the investors that listen to the work that we've been doing, beyond the fact that I thank them again for the trust. If you remember, every year we are basically working to transform the company. Last year it was about building those building blocks and working to build those units. This year is about bringing more brands and materializing on the tools that we had. We just recently completed the hiring of our operation staff that is working in our lab, in our pilot center. We now are completing the commissioning of those units, the bitumen units. We are bringing now customers to be tested on those units. And so we are working again to transform the company from this stage to another stage, just like we told investors. I do hope investors will, keep their eyes on us, as I hope they'll see more of that news in the coming future.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much for doing this.
Well, thank you very much, Mariusz.